about how to divide fractions, which is a little bit more complicated than multiplying fractions, but it's not as hard as adding and subtracting fractions. So go ahead and pause this video and get out your math book, turn to page 327. If you do not have your math book, I will be walking around to check and writing some merits. However, if you do not have a math book, you have the option of writing an agenda pass or writing on paper. But if you choose to write on paper, that means that you are solving each problem that we are solving just on paper. Okay, on today, page 327, it says DeAndre has 3 oranges and each orange is divided evenly into 4s. Complete the steps below to find 3 divided by 1/4. So very first thing, it says draw 3 oranges. The first one's done for us. I'm just going to draw 2 more circles to represent my oranges. And then step 2 says imagine that you cut each orange into 4s. Draw slices for each orange. So I'm literally just drawing them into 4 pieces. Now it says, so 3 divided by 1/4 equals 12. So a lot of students look at this problem and they say, how in the world is it 12 if you're dividing? Should your number get smaller, not bigger? Now the key here, this is what they're trying to show you, is it is getting bigger because since you're dividing by a 4th, you're only dividing by a piece. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So it does get bigger, which means that we're going to have to do something with these numbers to make it get larger instead of smaller. So I'm going to show you how to actually work these out without drawing a picture each time. Go ahead and flip your page, and on the following page, page 328, if you read, it says to divide by a fraction, multiply by its multiplicative inverse or reciprocal. So one word that I want you to be familiar with is reciprocal. You might want to put a star next to it. A reciprocal basically is when you're flipping a fraction upside down. So it shows you here the reciprocal of 3/4 is 4/3. If I had 5/6, the reciprocal is 6/5. If I had 7/8, the reciprocal is 8/7. If I had an improper fraction of 10/5, the reciprocal is 5/10, and so on. So we're actually going to, instead of saying this is how you divide fractions, I want you to memorize this step. Whenever we do dividing, you're going to remember keep, change, and flip. And again, you should be writing these in your notes so you have that with you. Keep, change, flip. What that means is if my problem says 7/8 divided by 3/4, I keep the first fraction, and it says change, so instead of division, you change it to its opposite, which is multiplication, and then with the second fraction, you flip it, so you're going to actually make it into its reciprocal. From there, it's just like multiplying fractions, which we did Thursday and Friday of last week. You go straight across, multiply the numerator, 7 times 4 is 28, 8 times 3 is 24, and then we'll simplify like normal. 24 goes into 28 one time with 4 left over 24. And then finally simplify by dividing by 4. 4 goes into 4 one time. 4 goes into 24 6 times, so we will get 1 over 6. Okay, on the following one, it says dividing 3 by 1/4 is the same as multiplying 3 by the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4. So again, you might still be asking yourself, how did I get a bigger number when I divided? And that's because we're actually multiplying. So 3 divided by 1/4 is the same thing as 3/1, change, flip, which gave us 12/1, which is the same thing as 12. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and scoot down to example 1. On example 1, it says find 1/3 divided by 5. So I'm going to keep, change, and you might say, how do I flip 5? Well, remember 5 is actually the same thing as 5/1. So if I flip it, it's going to become 1/5. If you haven't written this down, you should be writing with me. From there, it's just like multiplying fractions. 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 5 is 15, so we get 1/15. On the following page, example 2, now you can see I have a negative, so I also have to apply the smiley face rules that we did last week. So just a quick reminder, if I have a positive and a negative, my smiley face has a eye infection, so he is sad, and the sad represents that my answer is going to be negative. So I'm going to keep, change, flip, and I'm going to go ahead and write the negative sign in my answer so I don't forget. From there, 3 times -2 is -6. I've already got the negative. Put my 6. 4 times 1 is 4. And then simplify. Don't forget to keep your negative. We have 2 left over. And then that's going to simplify. On the next ones, it says, got it, do the problems to find out. I want you to go ahead and try A, B, and C. If you don't have your math book, then you should be pausing to copy the problem and then solve it. Unpause when you're ready to check. So on letter A, we're keeping, changing, flipping. So I have 12/4, which simplifies to 3. On the next one, keep, change, flip. I'm going to do it up here. So keep, change, flip. And again, I know I'm going to have an eye infection, so I know my answer is negative. -4 times 9 is -36. So I already have my negative. I'm going to make sure that we can see it. I'm going to move it right here. Make my line a little thicker. There we go. 5 times 8 is 40, and then that can simplify by making 4 go into both of those. So I have 4 goes into -36 9 times, and 4 goes into 40 10 times. So I have -9 tenths. Okay, next one, letter C. This time I have 2 negatives. It's kind of hard to tell, but this is a negative. Remember, if I have 2 negatives, he's asleep, so he is happy, which means my answer is going to be positive. So I'm going to keep, change, flip. A negative times a negative is a positive, so -5 times -3 is positive 15. 6 times 2 is 12, and then simplify. 12 goes in 1 time with 3 left over 12, not 15. So over 12, and then simplify by dividing by 3. 3 goes into 3 1 time, 3 goes into 12 4 times, so you get 1 and 1/4. On the following page, example 3, now we have mixed numbers. Whenever you're dividing by a mixed number, before you do anything, you want to go ahead and change this to an improper fraction by doing the MAD method. So, I'm going to go ahead and write 2/3 divided by, multiply is 9, plus 1 is 10, keep the denominator. Okay, I haven't done any step yet. I haven't done keep, change, flip yet. Okay, all I've done is rewrote my problem, so I know what I'm working with. So now I can do keep, change, flip. So keep, change, flip. From there I get 6/30. 6 goes into both of those numbers, so it goes in 1 time and then 5 times, so I get 1/5. Okay. On the got it problems, go ahead, actually just kidding. Or on example 3. Trying to go too fast. Okay, I just confused myself again. We're not on example 3, we're on the got it problems. So yes, go ahead and pause this video if you are working without a book. Copy the problems down and then solve. If you simply are working on the book, pause, solve all 3, and then come back to check your answers. Remember, all of these are mixed numbers here, so before you do anything, you should use the MAD method to change them to improper fractions. So I have not solved the problems just yet. I want to go through that with you guys. But as you can see, I went ahead and changed the mixed numbers to improper fractions. So double check and make sure that you did that step correct, because if you don't get the correct answer, that could be what you do wrong. And then also notice that with whole numbers like 5 and this 5, I put 5/1 to make it an improper fraction, just so that way when I'm multiplying, I have a numerator and a denominator. So now I'm ready to do keep, keep, change, flip. So I'm on letter D, keep, change, flip. So I get 15 over 4. That goes in 3 times with 3 left over. And then keep the denominator, so 3 3/4. On the following problem, letter E, have a negative, which tells me that he's going to have an eye infection, so my answer is going to be negative. Keep, change, flip. It's going to equal negative 6 over 12, and then simplify, that equals negative 1/2. And then the last one, letter F, keep, change, flip. It's 7 over 15, which cannot be simplified. Okay. And finally, go ahead and let's look at example 4. It says the side pieces of a butterfly house are 8 1/4 inches long. How many side pieces can be cut from a board measuring 49 1/2 inches long? So we know that this is division because this is what the chapter is about. So now we're dividing 2 mixed numbers by each other. I know the very first step is changing them to improper fractions. So I'm actually going to go ahead and skip this step, and this is what the improper fractions would look like. Then they did keep, change, flip. That's what they're doing here. And then finally, what they're doing here, I just want to talk about briefly. If you get it, great. If you don't, that's fine. You don't have to do it. But what they're actually doing, what this 1 and 2 is they're simplifying while they're doing the problem, so they don't have to simplify at the end. You can, if you prefer to simplify, what you'll do, or during the problem, they went ahead and said, okay, 2 and 4. 2 goes into 2 one time, 4 goes into 2 2 times. And you can only do this if the numbers are diagonal from each other. So then they did the same thing here. 33 goes into 33 one time, 33 goes into 99 3 times, and then they multiplied, so 3 times 2 is 6, 1 times 1 is 1, which equals 6. Now, again, if you don't understand this, don't use it. Basically, again, they're simplifying while doing the problem, so they don't have to simplify at the end, but you can still simplify at the end if you don't understand this. Finally, I want you to go ahead and solve problems 1 through 4. And let's see, this is page 330. So page 330, 1 through 4. Again, if you don't have a book, pause, copy down the problems, then solve, unpause to check and see how you're doing. Okay, you can pause again to check your answers. One quick thing I wanted to mention, let's look at number 4 first. So we had 2 mixed numbers. Before you could do keep, change, flip, you have to change them to improper fractions, which is what this is. And then I came down here and did keep, change, flip. So again, pause, see if you have any questions. If you do, raise your hand, and then unpause when you're ready. Okay, lastly, I'm on page 331. I want you to pause. You're going to solve 1 through 6. Unpause when you're ready to check. Again, if you do not have a book, you should be pausing to copy down the problems first, solving the problems, then coming back to check. Okay, so on 1 through 6, I have my answers for you here. Again, you can pause to check your work. If you have any questions, please go ahead and raise your hand so I can answer those for you. And then read the board for your following directions. If you took notes on notebook paper, make sure that you put those in your binder. If you have them in your book, you're fine as well. Okay, so again, read the board for following directions.